You're about to play an unfinished level from The Last of Us Part 2. The reason we added this section is there are a few sequences, and we picked the 3 of the best ones, that we cut from the game. Often we build a game that's much bigger than what ends up being the final product. They were months away from being finished, but we wanted to give you an insight of what it's like when we built the game, because often we have this whole thing constructed and it doesn't have final art or audio or dialogue. And here you get to see the building blocks of what it's like when we first string a bunch of these levels together. This is the intro to the first deleted level, and this one is the roughest of the 3. We wanted to show more of how Jackson operates. So this is the festival where Ellie ultimately kisses Dina. This sequence would have come very late in the game as a flashback sequence while you're in the farm with Dina. And we wanted to show what is the rest of Jackson doing, and wanted to put on the stick, make it interactive. So you could see when you're outside, there are all these almost like carnival games that you can play. You could mix drinks, you could play with these kids that are playing a sort of clicker Marco Polo, sit down and listen to conversations. And all the different interactions were first or second pass, very, very early passes. The building blocks are there, but nothing is final. And ultimately, while we were very excited by this sequence, it's pretty fun and lighthearted. It just slowed things too much as we're barreling towards the end of the story at this point. So again, reminder, rough, missing audio, missing animation, missing gameplay tweaks, missing dialogue, but pretty representative of what it would have been. So enjoy.
Originally, this level was going to transition us to farm. We would go all the way through to the dance, where Ellie and Dina share their first kiss. Then we would play through farm, and when Ellie plays the guitar at night, she would remember the Seth incident. So, the opening for this was a little tricky. We needed it to match at least a little what you might expect emotionally coming from prior beats, because we were already purposefully disorienting you in time and space. Remember, you just came from this huge fight. To jump straight into it would have been a little too jarring. After some back and forth, we rooted it in Ellie's nerves, calling back to her hands shaking in the theater. But this time, for a much more innocuous reason we'll find out later. She's nervous because she has a crush on Dina, who is the only reason why she's here at the dance. Something we really wanted to do was highlight the way their lives had turned upside down since she went down this path. We had this idea of recontextualizing all of our usual gameplay mechanics that were designed for really violent ends. The workbench, door bashes, throwable weapons, and even the infected, which is my personal favorite. Peppered throughout the level are moments of levity or shared history, all the while seeing how happy and mundane they all were before her huge revenge odyssey. It is not a festival without one of these throwing games. This one, of course, uses our throwable system where you're often chucking explosive things or stunning things, but for a more wholesome purpose, although some people take this game really seriously. A fun aspect of this is if you did well, you could win a toy here. Ellie would place it in her pocket. If you had done this, you'd find the toy with JJ, the baby, later back at the farm. When we cut this, the toy made it through anyway because it was so cute. It is the same one you see on the tractor at the farm. Ollie the elephant. The makeup artist is pretty simple. It's one of those little in-game scenes we peppered in to make it feel like Ellie had roots in the town. Hallie, our writer, mentioned that in her mind, an ex-girlfriend of Ellie's tattooed her arm to cover up her scar. So we figured this might be the only time you get to see that. We wanted to hint at it and allude to it and make it feel like there had been so much more that had been happening and so much more that Ellie threw away. This is one of my favorite sections because I think that it achieves both the slice-of-life aspect of Jackson while also being a stark reminder of how dark the world that they live in really, really is. To attract attention and curiosity, one of the kids was supposed to make this adorable, messed-up little clicker impression, and the others would giggle. We tried a version where if you got close enough, the kid might try and follow you a little before turning back. Since clickers are blind and move by echolocation, for this game of messed up tag, Ellie must close her eyes and listen for when the children give themselves away. The thought was that these kids are in relative safety. They still grow up with the dangers of clickers and runners, and all those lessons would embed themselves in the games that they play. When the festival got cut, they tried to preserve this moment and move it to the front of the game where the snowball fight is, as a tutorial. However, being in the headspace of a clicker doesn't really teach you how to deal with them. Eventually, it evolved, and they instead made the snowball fight, which was, I think, way more effective. For me, it's character illuminating that not only does Ellie know this game, she plays along. There's a familiarity with the kids that's really nice to see, especially because it's such a difference from the Ellie we see later, who has a sort of hollow normalcy that she's trying to get with JJ, but kind of fails. There's a hidden spot at the back that was just a bit of fun. It was highlighting Jackson's normalcy with something we would find in a real world. In the back, you would find teenagers finding some alone time with each other in a dark corner of a party. It was rewarding the player for peeking into a hidden corner, but ultimately redirecting them back to the festival. We also had versions of them smoking weed here, despite Maria's consternation, probably having gotten it from Eugene. We use our workbench a lot to make a lot of things that kill and maim and hurt people. Here, we had the silly idea of using the same feel, harkening back to the same animations, using the exact same UI to instead fix a drink. Like the workbench, you could pick your base, and then you could add something to it. And at the time, we had some different reactions from Ellie based on how strong you chose to make the drink. Something we wanted to prototype, though, before it got cut, was picking up some ingredients around to add, like a lime or maybe a bottle of someone's favorite whiskey or salt, like you were earning upgrades. We also toyed with having Ellie carry around the drink you made and occasionally sip it, psyching herself up to go talk to Dina inside because she's nervous. It got too noodly, though, because she would need to keep placing it somewhere before she did anything. So it would have ended up more trouble than it was worth.
In this second deleted level, which is an extended sequence of the sewers in Seattle, this comes on the heels of where Ellie goes into a building and she survives an attack by stalkers and gets thrown out of the window and gets swept away by the current. And then we cut this section that used to be there in the final game. Now you will get to play it. So this was a way to get a bit more interesting puzzles, interesting traversal, figure out how Ellie can navigate the sewers with the fighting current. Ultimately, with a lot of these levels and these sequences, the reason why we cut them were for pacing purposes. But here it is for you in this very kind of raw form that part of it will feel finished, parts of it will feel like assets are missing as far as audio, animation won't be final. But it's a glimpse into what a game looks like when it's months away from finishing. Enjoy.
Get off of me! Seattle.
The ladder acts as an immediate goal for the player, but being able to climb out is not going to be so easy. To keep levels interesting and engaging, we alternate between positive and negative values the player experiences. Here, it's a positive to have found a ladder, but then a negative to discover it's not the solution. But then another positive to identify the next short-term goal of the doorway. By alternating between these opposing values, we give players what they expect, but not how they expect it.
Fucking kidding me. Okay. There's gotta be another way out.
This level, internally known as Find Nora, was quite long in duration as we had to make Ellie traverse a far distance to the opposite side of downtown Seattle. The sewer section was originally longer than what we released the game with, approximately 10 minutes more. This was one of the few areas of the game that used water flow as part of a traversal puzzle. The player has to go upstream to use the current to get to the platform to reach the other side. We mostly cut this mechanic game-wide, however it remained in essence in the section swimming to the aquarium as Ellie, when you were avoiding the waves. When players reach the doorway and enter into the room, they're faced with a dead end. The real reason for this dead-end room is that on the reversal, when exiting back out of the doorway, players are faced with the route onwards. A pipe that they'd not been able to see when they were swept past it on the way in, and something that was hidden from view when on the side platforms. The intention here being that the only option is to go off the standard path in order to search for a way out.
Get me the hell out of here.
Throughout the rest of the level, we also used light to indicate to the player that they were heading in the right direction. At each turn, however, we blocked the direct route forward. Players would know that they just have to keep finding alternative paths, promoting those feelings of being desperate and trapped. We slowly introduced the player to consider climbing into smaller pipes and crouching in these tight spaces. This is to slowly build up to and encourage the player to climb into such a small pipe that they'll have to be crawling on their stomach, which is something that the player previously may not have recognised as a playable space, let alone the desired route they need to take. We added a tiny space just to reward the player's exploration with a pickup item, and we made sure it was something that made sense that you'd find in this area. A canister and all the garbage that had been washed into the sewers from the surface. We loved the idea of making Ellie prone through a tiny, dirty pipe in order to get out, as it was a great opportunity to use our prone mechanic. The unique camera setup was created to support crawling in these pipes, as the standard prone camera is much higher above the player. We also created custom collision in order for Ellie to manoeuvre in these tight spaces easily. Initially, the oblong collision capsule around her character caused issues crawling around corners. We put extra effort into the custom corner collision, so the movement experience is as smooth as the main game. In order for the player to feel cramped, claustrophobic and desperate, we'd been enforcing the traversal mechanics that allow for a tight environment which promote these feelings. We introduced the use of the squeeze-through so that we can keep the player feeling enclosed and tight, but without repeating the same geometry. Here we change from low ceilings with wider walls to high ceilings and tight walls to change up the spatial pacing and keep the level from repeating itself.
shitty place to die.
Originally, we had the waterline much higher here, so players had to swim through this tight tunnel. However, from watching user test feedback, it was occasionally causing people to discount the route entirely and turn back on themselves. So to avoid any risk of this happening in the final game, we present a lower water level so the tunnel is easy to see and commit to using. Although this isn't as impactful without the prone swim, it's the better decision as it means a smoother experience for the player with no backtracking frustration. As we surface from the water and over the crest of the slope, we reveal what is further in this tunnel. A clicker that has sprouted and the fungus has grown on the sides of the pipe. It was great to see people who user tested this area becoming increasingly worried as we forced the player to squeeze past the fungus and inches away from the clicker's face, all the time not being sure whether the clicker might be alive or attack them. Although we aren't as cruel as to force a clicker attack in such close proximity, we do have a payoff for this moment. This clicker momentarily turned into Joel to show Ellie's PTSD from what happened to Joel at the start of the game. Ultimately, we decided to save this moment for the farm level, as it was more impactful there because it could become the centrepiece of that experience. Whereas in the sewers, we weren't able to make it as much of a narrative point and give it the breathing room and reaction time that it deserves, given the tight space.
Oh shit!
For the final section, we eventually opened you out into a wider area as you traverse through such tight spaces leading up to this. So changing the environmental pacing makes it begin to feel like we're coming to the end of Ellie's ordeal. An earlier iteration used the current that we'd shown at the start for a slightly tougher traversal puzzle to conclude the sewers. The ladder was clearly visible from most of the area, but the player was faced with a fast-flowing torrent of water they couldn't cross. If the player attempted to jump into the water, they were not able to swim across the ladder due to the water's speed. But instead, they had to traverse the pipe running along the top of the space in order to get across the water.
Right.
This is the first time we get to see stalkers that are embedded into the walls. So this optional room is a nice little early extra that the player gets if they explore. We also use the pickups to lure players over to be close enough to trigger the stalker's attack. And this caused quite a few jump scares in user testers who played our game before its release. Using this pipe was retained in the iteration we shipped with, as it's the last of the extreme methods Ellie has to undergo in order to escape the sewers, and what she will go through in her pursuit of revenge. The last ladder climb is quite lengthy, and although we could have trimmed it down to a shorter climb, we liked how this last segment of the journey built anticipation for whether there was success at the top or not after all you've been through. Ultimately, the ladder exits out into the subway station, which is how it connects in the final game. Ellie then has to find her way to the hospital from here, crossing paths with the scars for the first time.
For this third and final deleted level, what we call the boar hunt sequence, this was a sequence pretty late in the game. It was right after the whole Seattle Abby sequence where Abby spares Ellie. And then we wanted to come back into Ellie's story, but keep it a bit mysterious of how much time has passed, where is Ellie now? So we're coming in on Ellie, and she's following a trail of blood. And we wanted to mirror, in a way, the deer hunt sequence from the first game, but this time do it with a boar. And there's something with Ellie that now she can't let go of this violence. She's pursuing it, even against this innocent animal. This was another opportunity to show how the violence that Ellie has experienced, the violence that she witnessed being afflicted onto Joel, is still sticking with her, and she's still experiencing these PTSD moments. This was a sequence that was pretty far along and was cut pretty late in production. Parts of it are still really rough, but the gameplay, the building blocks were all there. I think you'll have fun to see, like, again, a rough, unfinished sequence that you can play. You can see all the way to the end, and including a cinematic that we end up cutting. And the remnants of the sequence ended up being mentioned in Ellie's journal. So this part of the story that we developed still made its way into the game as kind of optional stuff that you could read about, but here you get to experience it. So as a reminder, this is pretty rough, months away from being finished, but you get to see it now.
Where are you?
So the boar hunt was one of the hardest levels for me to work on. It was a huge challenge with the systems that we had, and we kept trying, but it never felt quite right. Originally, the level happened after the Jackson Festival, which also got cut, but before Farm. Once the festival got cut, it became the prologue to Farm. The intended experience is that we jump forward in time after the fight with Abby in the theater. We don't know where Dina is. We likely assume she's dead because she was just bleeding out. Ellie is alone. Her hair is short. So maybe this is the future or the present. And she's hunting. Hunting who? Abby still? In early iterations of the fight, it was more arena-like. The player slowly whittles down the boar's health. Ellie gets more visceral and more vicious. We get a little worried about her. As the boar gets weaker, more panicked, more feral, and we start feeling sympathetic to the boar was the hope. In all of these iterations, especially of these wider areas, it required custom AI and scripting to make sure it continued to feel organic as an animal, but we really needed it to do specific stuff. It needed to be able to close distances really, really quickly. It needed to charge to attack, but we wanted the feeling of hunting, so we needed to track it down from afar. And we also needed to discourage the player from attacking the boar when it's that close, or it would kind of turn into this melee kerfuffle. How do we do this in our world while keeping the boar believable? We must have gone through 5 or 6 iterations of the boar fight and all, and every single time it changed pretty drastically. We split it into clear phases, where one was like all long range. We tried another where you're getting close and you get to jump on it quite literally. You're jumping off of a rock to attack it. And then finally, we tried a bunch where you almost sort of go around a bunch of trailers and try and wrestle it.
Gotcha.
We uncovered after some time that taking down a boar over several phases felt very laborious and a little dramatic. It was comically long. It felt too boss-like, a little too gamey. We decided to cut the first few phases, and we opted for a cold open after the boar had already been hurt off screen. So that allowed us to focus on feeling like we're closing in on prey and to introduce the boar when it was at its most dangerous. Already hurt, already feral, much too close for comfort. And so the thinking was it would bring us more into Ellie's mindset. Is this really hunting for food, or is she hunting for some other reason? The gas station was built to highlight the boar's destructiveness. Since it's cramped, the boar feels larger. We also feel trapped with it, though perhaps it's trapped with us. When it charges, it gets to us quickly, so we must be on our toes. This made it more aligned with Ellie's sort of hunting for trouble mindset. Listening became more important, as well as moving around slowly so it didn't hear you. Could you spot it before it saw or heard you? And could you get a shot off quickly enough so you could dodge out of the way? Or is the shot worth the cost after? It feels like a gamble. By the end of the fight, everything would likely be in shambles. The boar would burst through the back, and Ellie would follow it and finally enact revenge.
Got you. Nowhere to run.
The boar kill was supposed to be anything but glorious. With the boar whimpering at the back of the gas station after Ellie's relentless hunt. After
When we first meet Ellie in Jackson, she's 19. She's going out on patrols. She is a little bit more confident in who she is. She's learned how capable she is. She's learned so much from Joel, and she's absolutely a capable fighter, a hunter. She knows her strengths and her weaknesses and knows how to strategize and use those to her advantage. And she's a big contributor to the community in Jackson. Hey.
Hey.
What's up, Joel?
Just checking in. Folks are, talking about how impressed they are with you and how well you're helping out.
It's good.
Yeah. I want to show you something. Just give me 1 second.
What's this?
Some folks call this thing here a guitar.
Funny.
You want to hear something?
Okay.
Okay. Promise me that you won't laugh.
I won't laugh. I won't.
I'm trusting you.
Welcome back to the official The Last of Us podcast. I'm Christian Spicer. Last episode, we skimmed the surface of The Last of Us Part 2, talking with some of the people who helped bring this incredible game to life. But today, we're taking the full plunge, diving deep into story points and talking about one of the two playable characters, Ellie. So yes, warning, we are moving into full spoiler territory here. So if you haven't finished the game yet, proceed with caution.
It's funny. It's in some ways they both found what they're looking for. It's more true for Joel than it is for Ellie. They found a place to settle down, to find society that values them. Joel has, in the journey of The Last of Us 1, has, like, as cliche as that sound, learned to love again. It's like learned to accept that love comes with pain, and has brought everything that comes with love into his life. But at a cost where now his relationship with Ellie is a bit strained. Ellie can tell that, something happened in that hospital that is off. And even for no other reason, that so much of her journey, and she experienced so much loss by the end of the first game. And it felt meaningless to her, because in her idea, it was like, it would all be worth it if at the end of it, there could be a cure. There could be something positive that comes out of it. And the only thing that came positive out of it is she got this father figure, right? Everyone that she loves constantly, like, comes in and out of her life, except this one dude that has stuck around no matter what. So she got that. But now what does she do? So she's kind of aimless, and she doesn't know what her purpose is, and she's trying to find it. But she's got this thing that's kind of nagging away at her. I was like, what happened? What happened? And she's like, she believes she could bury it. She could suppress it, but it keeps coming back up. And that's what we see in the flashbacks. With each flashback, it comes more and more to the surface. Like, she can't help but go find out herself. It's like that trust is not quite there.
At this point, Joel and Ellie's relationship, Ellie knows that Joel lied. And not only that, he's killed the people that could have saved humanity. And that weighs on her. And also at this point, she hasn't met anybody else that's immune, or at least they haven't told her. So she also carries the weight of knowing that her death could have saved people. And knowing something that huge could have been your contribution to the world. I mean, how would you even find your purpose in anything else? Because you're like, well, if that was my purpose, everything else feels less than.
Making a vaccine would have killed you. So I stopped them.
Oh my God. But that chance was taken away from her, and it's a confusing thing, and it's a confusing emotion, because she's also dealing with the fact that Joel wanted to save her because he loves her, and they connected and they became family because of this journey that they were on together. And she knows that, but it's intensely confusing. And I can't even imagine what it would be like to have that responsibility of, well, the world wouldn't be like this anymore if I'd given my life. But I believe, at least how I was playing it throughout this game, is she carries that guilt with her always. And that kind of guilt can rip you apart. It can make you angry and sad and frustrated, and can cause anxiety and depression.
I think to the challenges, the moments that were really hard to pull off, and Joel's death is one of them, is one that was a hard scene to write, and it was a hard scene to prep for, and it was a hard scene to shoot. And then trying to pace it out properly and trying to make it land was really hard. I remember, like, the last few weeks of production on the music for it, which is like this beating, almost like a heartbeat that just gets more and more like grimy and intense as the scene goes on. So it's like there's this dread that's building. Whereas, like, with Sarah's death, it ended up being, I think, sad. You feel for Joel and you feel the tragedy of it. And while this is also tragic, there's Sarah's death is surprising, where Joel's death feels inevitable. But I think even with knowing what's happening, and you tell me what you think, I'm really curious to hear it, but we decided, just the way it was coming together, I was like, oh, this scene is more about dread.
It was tragic, but it felt, I think, as you mentioned, to me, Joel was living just to die. Like, Joel's life was going to catch up with him. Whether it's when he was a smuggler with Tess, or, even I could see it have been a conflict in Jackson. Like, the character of Joel at some point his actions were going to have repercussions. And so witnessing it in that way, it was something where, yeah, I literally knew it was coming. But in those moments, you see, and I think the actors' performances, the realization of, I'm Joel and this is my brother Tommy, or I forget, maybe I'm Tommy and it's my brother Joel. And it's like, oh.
Hey, I'm Tommy. That's Joel. What's your name?
Abby.
Abby, are you okay?
The way Abby reacts. In that moment, you're like, oh shit. It's going down. And then I loved the moment, and I imagine there was some debate on it, but experiencing it from Ellie's perspective, where kind of the ringing in her ears and the shock and the scream, and it's not clear. It's emotion that in which you witness that. And I feel like I was very much in Ellie's shoes in that moment. So even though I knew it was coming, it still landed like a bag of bricks.
Yeah, it's funny. Again, you think about iteration and how important iteration is to building something that's good, because like so many early versions, Ellie was not there. Ellie just saw the aftermath, and Tommy had to like tell her everything that happened. And then, again, I don't remember whose idea it was or how it came to be, but it was like someone said, oh, Ellie should be there. It was like, oh, that became, oh, of course, this whole thing is predicated on her feeling the most intense hatred. She's got to see the act, which I know is cruel, but essential for the story.
It's what sets off the journey. And I think when I first heard that Ellie was going to be there for that, I didn't want that for her. But at the same time, I knew that that's what needed to happen for the story. And we all knew that it was going to be heartbreaking and horrible for Ellie to see that. I think I just personally, for me, I was like, I don't want to do that, which I think is exactly why they needed to do it.
Neil jokes about the fact that we debated how this happens. And I was so fearful of how this would be presented. And I remember sitting in Neil's office on the couch next to him, and he starts telling me how this whole thing goes down with Neil. And I think I told this the first time. I'm sitting there with notes and I'm diligently taking notes. I'm like, okay, fantastic. So, trying to be a dutiful student. And then we get to the moment and we kind of move forward, and I just stopped and I was like, man, I need a second. Because it was literally as if someone just told me that someone very near to me had just died. And I realized that I hadn't grieved. It's almost like finding out someone is terminally ill, and you go through that process and you're like, okay, we know this is going to happen, and we prepare for it. And you go from like, maybe you won't, maybe this is all a bad dream and maybe you'll get better. And then you're like, no, you're in hospice and you're shooting the scene, and then it's done.
I'd love to talk about that part a little bit more, where Tommy and Joel save Abby's life. What would they have needed to do to prevent Abby from killing Joel in that moment? Like, that's her life's mission, is to go kill this human being, who then the only reason she's allowed to accomplish that singular focus is because he saves her. Like,
dude, okay. This is why this game, and I'm not saying the first one or the second one, I'm saying this experience, that's why it's part one and part two. It's not a sequel. This thing is the entirety of the story that we're telling. Moments and conversations and characters echo from part one into part two. And it was even one of the earliest lines that you ever heard from part one in the trailer, which was Earl Brown. When you get to Bill's town, and there's this conversation with Bill, and he goes, once upon a time, I had someone that I cared about, and I found that thing is only good for one thing, that's to get you killed. This is what happens when you care. And it's the same thing of why it is calling back to Sarah without him having to reference Sarah. It was like, because you didn't care, because you weren't diligent, because you weren't aware, people will get hurt. And you can't care about people because they will die. And when they die, you will be hurt, so you don't care. So you see Joel saying, that's why he rejects Ellie in the very beginning. He was like, I'm not taking her. She's just cargo. This is how we can rationalize if something goes wrong, it's just cargo. Worst case scenario, the cargo gets lost. Worst case scenario, the cargo dies. And that's how Joel justifies it to himself. There's this constant reminder to Joel of every time I care, every time I show my humanity, it catches up to me. But it's the same question that is asked and posited philosophically at the end of the first game. Why not just sacrifice Ellie for the sake of mankind? This is a philosophical argument that's the cable car argument. The degrees of tragedy and depravity that we will allow ourselves to indulge in is completely dependent upon the context of our own experiences. For Joel, sacrificing her is sacrificing humanity. So, to not care about someone is just as bad as being a murderer. Now he understands. Now he is working. He's trying to do everything he can to make penance for the wrong that he did to Ellie. And that man is making his bed up. He's doing the dishes. He's taking out the garbage. He's doing everything he can. I'll save this person's life if it makes me right with her. I'd rather make a wrong decision, but show that I've grown. And that's why he's like, it's you. You're the one that takes me down. It's just, it was this moment of recognition of like, that's when the other shoe drops. When he starts looking around and realizes, I let my guard down and I don't know my exit and I'm surrounded.
Joe. Y'all act like you heard of us or something.
Because they have.
It's that moment from when the lion is trapped.
Joel, get up. Joel, fucking get up. Please stop. Please don't shoot.
Man, that scene, I think boy, I'm getting emotional. I think I was dreading shooting that scene. And it's the scene in the game that is the most devastating, of course, because we are losing a character that we all deeply care about. But when we started shooting that scene, it was awful. Like I didn't want it to be happening. And I know that was the story, but it was a tough week on the job. And it's hard to describe because I feel like that particular week of filming, I was in some ways on autopilot because I was just kind of trying to protect my emotions in a weird way. But at the same time, as an actor, you have to let all that out. And I didn't know what my reactions were going to be. I mean, obviously the scene called for yelling and being upset and crying, but I didn't realize how much anger was going to be coming out. And, you know, obviously had to be restrained. I was like, you guys better be restraining me because I'm going to fucking get up and I'm going to go try to do something if you don't hold me down. And I think that was incredibly helpful because you can hear the strain. Boy, that was a tough day.
I'm reminded of what Neil told me with this scene with Sarah is just look at her. And I was compelled to look at Ashley. So similarly, in the way that Hannah really shepherded me and pulled me through that scene with Sarah, I would say that if that moment is impactful and means something to anybody, it's entirely because Ashley pulled me through that scene.
Joel's death was by far the hardest one. It was the hardest one to figure out how far do we take it. And I always knew like we wanted to find a line and then just go a little past that line because it needs to feel really uncomfortable, cruel to get to get the kinds of feelings we're after for this experience. This was such a long shoot. It was like the longest cinematic shoot for any game we've done. And feeling really nervous about how that scene is going to be. And I especially know the attachment Troy has to Joel, and feeling the most nervous about how is he going to feel about this scene, because so much of the scene is making sure Joel dies in this kind of like unceremonious way, and he's disrespected by these other characters. And first drafts of the game had a lot more mention of Sarah. We wanted to tie Sarah, and right, because obviously Sarah's life and death had so much impact on Joel and who he is. And we had, like, once he got his head bashed in, his last word was like Sarah. And we're just thinking, like, his mind is like, right, it's not quite operating in the same way. You got neurons firing, and he just can't help but think about his daughter. And not only Troy, but a few people on the team felt like that was a little on the nose, that it could read like, oh, we're just trying to really force the parallel between Ellie and Sarah, that he's looking at Ellie and he's saying Sarah. And Troy didn't like that. And I said, like, you know what? Like, I promise you we'll get a version without it. But, like, I want to try it. And that's the thing that I try to always do, is, like, if someone on the set has an idea, I always try to make sure we have enough time to try it. Because I don't know. Like, I can't predict what magic will happen when you try something fresh. So if someone feels strongly about an idea, I'm like, okay, let's try it, as long as you're willing to try everything I want to do. And to Troy, to his credit, was like, okay, I'll give you everything that's on the page, but I want a version where, like, I say almost nothing. And I'm like, okay. And that's the version that's in the game.
I think that is a huge breaking point for her. He held sort of this important place in her life, possibly the most important, and he was taken away from her. Taken away before their relationship was fully able to heal. And those are all of the emotions that Ellie sits with in for most of the game. And man, shooting was tough. This game was really tough to shoot. And it was a lot harder working on this game than the first game. And we had to go there. We had to go deep, and we had to really dive into that, or else the game wouldn't work. But it does take a little bit of an emotional toll. It wasn't... But again, I would do it all over again. I love this game so much, and I love this character. And after 8 years of playing this character, I'll go anywhere with her.
I don't know if this takes us to a lighter place or not. When Joel and Ellie it's a flashback, and they're in the museum.
Did you know this was here?
Oh, you don't like it. We can head back.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, man.
And it's the birthday and the tape of the rocket launch.
Happy birthday, kiddo.
What is this?
This is a thing that took a mighty effort to find.
And then also Ellie's recognition of that gift and what it meant and what it took. And to see her be able to be a child again, if just for a 3-second countdown. It's such a beautiful moment that if all I saw was that, I'd be like, what is this, a Hallmark movie? But because of the world it lives in, it's such a deeply tragic moment.
So keep in mind, I love even how, and nothing that was written and crafted in this scene from the top down, from Neil and Hallie, everybody at the team is haphazard. It's not like, well, I guess it happens in a museum. I guess they stumble upon this. Everything is so like, down to literally the pixel is ordained.
Why don't you tell me what you like about it?
I don't know. People in your time, they had it easy.
I guess relatively speaking, sure.
I mean, they didn't need to go to space, but they did it anyway. It's ballsy.
Ballsy. All right, kiddo. Now I get it.
So they build us this set, and because we have to be able to capture those movements, and obviously going into the capsule, you would never be able to do that now, right? So there's this beauty that and fortune that this desecrated world now affords us. It's like, you may not look, the velvet rope is this, thing that now bans you from it. It's like, I can go touch a Monet if I want to now. I can do all of the things that I wasn't allowed, that somehow the social constructs that we had and the they were there for a reason, but there's like, those don't exist. There's no speed limits. It's just, the world is truly wild again.
So cool.
How does it smell in there?
Like space. And dust.
That allows us to be able to explore the places that we never would have been able to go.
Whoa.
After you.
And that to me was just, it was an absolutely, truly beautiful, beautiful moment. And again, it's a testament to Ashley. That moment was put in there. The reason why it feels so real is because that's a genuine desire of Ashley. I remember we were flying over, we were flying from LA to London for a press event for the first game. And it was during the Perseid meteor shower. And we were going to try to see if we couldn't see it from our windows on a plane. And we just sat there, I think pretty much the whole of the flight, and just talked about this game, about where we were at, what we wanted. And I was like, what did you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? And that's when she told me, and I think she had told Neil before, she's like, I want to be an astronaut. Still kind of want to be, maybe I'll become an astronaut. So that moment exists for Ashley in the same way that Neil giving me the opportunity to sing and play guitar in that is a moment for me. He's an incredibly giving director and writer, and I don't think I'll ever be able to pay him back for what he's given me.
Happy birthday, kiddo.
What is this?
This is a thing that took a mighty effort to find. Take it. Close your eyes. It'll be worth it.
Okay.
I do okay.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You're welcome, kiddo. Well, what do you say we keep looking around, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
Hey. Welcome to Earth.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is probably one of my favorite parts of the game. Shooting that scene was really special because Troy and I didn't actually get to shoot together a lot during this game. And when we did, they were tough emotional scenes where Ellie was frustrated and mad and hurt and angry. And that scene, when they get into the capsule, it didn't have any of that. And it was just a brief respite in connecting together again in this loving space. But there's this element of sadness underneath. Ellie's getting older, and clearly at that point has already started to question Joel's actions, or is starting to sort of find some of the story doesn't add up. Also, you feel the sadness that Joel is feeling because of the loss of innocence that Ellie is already starting to lose. But I love that moment, and it was that day, I just remember both of us were just so happy to be doing that scene, but also we were sad because it's kind of a sad scene. And especially when you're going back, when you see that scene in a flashback, and it's just, it's hard. It's hard to watch, but I love it.
The idea with The Last of Us, with the first and the second game, is we wanted to explore these pockets of humanity and how they're surviving, right? There are the hunters, there are the quarantine zones that are very oppressive. There's Bill living out on his own. There's the WLF, that's this very militaristic force that thinks they're going to change the world one bit at a time, and yet they can't finish taking over the city. There's the Seraphites that think they're following their prophet's order, God's order, to like restore some balance to the world. And then there's a place like Jackson, which is like doing their best to create some semblance of the humanity we had, the society we had before the outbreak. So that, right, they have rules, they trade. Maybe it's a bit more of like a socialistic system than a capitalist one. They don't really have a currency, but they take care of each other. They watch movies. They have festivals where they dance. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I'm going to go on a tangent. Like, one of the things we cut pretty late that was pretty cool is that whole dance sequence. There used to be a playable part right before it. So Ellie's like been kind of drinking on her own in like some alleyway. You can hear the festival happening in the distance, and it was playable. So you're walking in the snow, and you walk outside the church, and there's this whole fair. And they have like little games and kids running around. You could like play darts and do all these mini games, and like kids pretending to be a clicker, and they tie like a blindfold on themselves, and they chase each other, and you could play with them. You could go to like the back of the church and find these like two teenagers making out. It was all pretty done. Like a lot of it wasn't super polished. It was like 80%. And we just felt, for pacing purposes, it just slowed things down too much at that point of the story. And it was heartbreaking to cut all that out. But that's one of those like tough decisions you have to make sometimes. Anyways, I went on a tangent, but it kind of talks about the place that Jackson is. Like, you could have a fair where people play. Like, you could have kids playing snowball in the morning, and you could go and like play with them. But it's walled off, and everybody knows beyond those walls is intense danger. So there are people that have to go on patrols and protect this way of life. And Joel and Ellie become, because of their skills and the journey they've been on, and the skills they've accrued, and how, I don't know if brave is the right word. Maybe with Ellie it's more reckless, but they are very valuable members of this society, of this town. So for the story, it was important to take some time to establish, okay, here's what's at stake. Here's what they stand to lose. Here's what Ellie stands to lose, most importantly, by going on this journey. That's why we wanted to like kind of slow things down in the beginning and really set up where Jackson is, what are relationships. And then later in the story also show that there are people here that get into fights, that get drunk, that whatever bigoted ways they had before the outbreak, they're still carrying post-outbreak. It doesn't mean they're necessarily bad people, but it's like they're not perfect people. They're flawed people, just like everybody else in the world.
One of the moments that also, again, broke me was the showing of the dance.
Oh, yeah. I love the dance.
Okay, I have a very serious question for you.
How bad do I smell?
Like a hot pile of garbage.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
How about that?
Gross.
You love it.
Every guy in this room is staring at you right now.
Maybe they're staring at you.
Or not.
Maybe they're jealous of you.
I'm just a girl, not a threat.
Oh, Ellie. I think they should be terrified of you.
When we finally see the dance kind of play out, and the moments of Dina and Ellie together, and Ellie saying, "I'm just a girl."
Mm-hmm. I hate to give Neil credit for anything. It really hurts my soul, but he did write that line, and I pushed back against it. And I don't want to say I was wrong, but I really do love the moment now. And yeah, you know, she's got this best friend who she believes is straight, and she's dancing with her, and she's insecure, like, is Dina flirting with me, or is this just Dina? And nobody, not even Jesse, is like giving it a second thought, because this is just her scrappy best friend dancing with her and being nervous and sheepish. And meanwhile, you've got Ellie, who has Dina wrapped around her, and she's like afraid she's going to give herself away, you know? And like, we have such incredible animators who like focused on pupil dilation and blushing and like sweat, and like, how do you show all of those revealing moments that Ellie can't control? You know, this is Ellie at her most, arguably one of her most out of control moments, right? She is vulnerable in the same way, you know, she's, I would say, arguably out of control when she's leaving the farm, or out of control when she has to fight Abby. But it is these lizard brain moments that allow her to be this holistic character, and it gives her insecurity. And it shows us how much she values Dina.
My name is Shannon Woodward, and I play Dina. Well, first of all, the game means a lot to me. Like, I'm one of the massive fan base. Like, I was obsessed with the first game. I can't even count how many times I've played it. And, you know, I ended up in the game because I had been working with Hallie Gross on Westworld. She wrote on the first season, and we became friends, and we were at a party one night. And I asked her what she was doing over our summer break, and she was like, "Oh, I'm actually, you know, freelancing at this video game company." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, what video game company?" Because I play a lot of games. And she was like, "A Naughty Dog," and I was like, What are you guys writing? The Last of Us 2? And the game wasn't announced yet. And she just went white. And she was like, "I'm not allowed to talk about it." I was like, "Oh, sorry. Wow, that's amazing that they're making that. I won't tell anyone." I was like, "But I'm such a big fan. Tell Neil, like, I would die to have a line in the game." And there was like a relay back and forth for like 6 months of like, "Oh, he really likes the show." And I was like, "Well, I really like everything he does." Until eventually, I think it must have been, I mean, maybe even almost a year after that, 9 months, she was like, "You know, there is a role, but you'd have to audition." And I was like, what? There's a role? And I read, and they hired me. But I never needed to do any kind of preparation or anything to do this. Like, I lived in that game with everyone else, you know? Like, I think that's what's so incredible about this game in particular, and what really moved me about the first game is that it feels like it elevates the concept of a novel with a fourth dimension, right? Which is that you feel like you are personally making these decisions. Like, you're personally taking Ellie across the country. Everyone loves Ellie. They took her across the country. We all did. We all saved Ellie's life in that first game. And so for me, like, loving Ellie was not a job. That was like, it was easy.
It's scary. It's scary to sort of be the person that the story is based around, and especially with a game that is loved as much as this game. I wanted to do right by it. But at the end of the day, I wasn't alone, because also was surrounded by other incredible actors that I got to work with, Shannon being one of them, which most of my scenes I got to shoot with Shannon. And she's one of my favorite actors I've ever worked with. And for me, my favorite actors to work opposite of are actors that are prepared and then will let all of that go and live in the moment. Shannon does that in spades. Like, you just don't know what she's going to do. And it's so exciting. And so many of the scenes felt just electric because of that. It was just like a live wire, because we had these scenes and these beautiful words so wonderfully written by Neil and Hallie, and Neil just let us free. And Shannon and I trusted each other implicitly, and we each just sat there and, would take our hands, and each time we shot, we just sort of had this unspoken bond of, I'll follow you, let's fucking go.
I'm curious, for you coming in and writing these two characters, what you wanted to convey, and we can talk about all of the relationships, not just Dina and Ellie as like a queer couple, but also Mel and Owen and Abby. But what it's like writing these characters and writing love that feels authentic, but again, in a time of, they're not going to college and then grad school and then getting married, and kind of what going steady maybe does or does not look like, and kind of how you write an honest relationship in a world that hopefully we never know.
Well, love is hopefully one of those things that can feel more universal, right? That most people can relate to or see some part of themselves in another character that is in love. Like the chemical release, the fixation, the nervousness, the insecurity. We've all been there. And that was a real opportunity to get people on board with Ellie, with Dina, ultimately also with Abby, Owen, Mel. But so when writing Ellie and Dina, what we were really focused on is like, if Ellie and Dina are best friends, and Ellie is ostensibly out to everybody but Joel, though that's only a reveal at the end. In the opening, she is actually out to Joel. But if that's not her issue, it's just about like, I don't want to ruin my friendship. I remember like Neil and I went through pages and pages and pages of in-game dialogue. And then we actually filmed and then reshot the hookup scene in the grow house. And that had like way, 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 way more dialogue. I think I wrote a page-long monologue, like a full, fucking Moby Dick-sized monologue about where Ellie is just freaking out about ruining her friendship with Dina and why she's been bottling up these feelings for so long, and how Dina as a friend means so much to her and she didn't want to ruin that. And I think, gosh, that's just, who doesn't have a friend who's been in that situation? Who can't see that? So like, okay, if you're a straight dude somewhere else, like, yeah, but you know what that feels like for Ellie. Okay, yeah, she's a woman, she's a lesbian, but gosh, you're rooting for her. She's so nervous. And you've also got this tough motherfucking character, right? She can kill anything. She's, she can do anything she wants. And Dina makes her nervous. Dina makes her scared. Dina is the reason that she's like losing her words and her hands are sweating, and like, she'd go up against any shambler compared to this fucking flirtatious girl. And that also gave us a chance to like make her feel really multifaceted, to make her feel not impervious, and to give stakes. It's like, this is the thing she's fighting for. She's fighting through herself to get to Dina in the same way she will fight through herself to let Abby go.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't know, can you?
Scale of 1 to 10. 1 being like absolute trash, and 10 being life-altering. would you rate our kiss from last night?
Why are we still talking about this?
I asked you to rate our kiss.
I don't know.
I give it a 6.
A 6? Wow.
Like a solid 6.
Okay.
There were a lot of people around.
Yeah, but 6.
Oh, what? I mean, now I really want to know how you'd rate it.
I don't think you do.
You're infuriating.
Have you met you?
You make me want to go back outside into that blizzard.
No one is stopping you.
This better be better than a 6.
I love it. It's another one of my favorite moments in the game because it's just so simple and pure and beautiful of these two teenagers, this fresh love for each other, and just, I love it. I love that scene so much, and I feel like we finally landed on the right version of it. And personally, I think a lot of the versions that we had were great, but that one in particular felt the most real and honest for the game. Like the representation in this game of a queer relationship is so real and so beautiful, and the kindness and how much they love each other, and it's beautiful and it's sexy. And I am so excited that I got to take part in that. To represent a queer relationship in that way, it's that they have a family life. They're raising this adorable child together. It is a wonderful and beautiful relationship across the board.
Hey, where you been?
Hunting. Took a little longer than I thought. Who's here?
Just come inside.
Ow. Ow. Well, that's quite a grip you got there.
Hey, Tommy.
There you are.
Here, let me take him. Come here, bud. Oh, yeah.
Go.
Here.
Oh, I got it.
Hey.
Hey.
It's good to see you.
You too. He's getting heavy.
No, he's just a big ball of muscle.
I'm curious what you think Ellie and Tommy's relationship is or will be. And maybe even what it was in the game in that moment. One of my favorite moments in the game is when he taps his finger. It's kind of like the...
Town's good? Maria good?
Oh, she's fine. We're taking some time apart.
And there's just like a subtle, like, on the table. And there's so much said with so little. Like, he knows what he's doing, right? I'm projecting. I want to get your take. I'll quit poisoning the well.
Yeah.
I want to get your take on their relationship.
Yeah. When Tommy finally comes to Ellie after, it's been past a year. Yeah, Tommy's healed. It's been some time.
So I've been putting out feelers for months now. And this new guy heard my story. He told me about a woman that he traded with while he was moving through California. Described her as built like an ox, traveling with a kid with scars across his face. That's gotta be her.
I feel like that scene just shows how much Tommy is hurting. I think yes, of course, it's terrible that Tommy is coming to her and putting this on her to do, and also putting the onus on her of saying, like, well, I can't do it. I can't go out there and go do this thing, and you're the only one left who can go get this revenge. And that scene is heartbreaking to me because it shows how broken he is, where even he thinks that what's going to solve this pain and this hurt that they're all experiencing is by killing the person who did it.
Reckon it's easy. Forget about her. You sitting all comfy way out here?
Hey.
I'll make her pay.
Tommy.
That's what you said when we got back to Jackson.
Tommy.
Yeah, it's shitty, but I get it. That is a person who is going through so much pain and doesn't know what to do with it. I mean, it feels to me, especially in that scene where Tommy comes to Ellie for the first time and you see him after all that, he's in a bad place. He's in a really bad place. And so is Ellie. I mean, you see her at the house finally after, going on the journey with Abby, and then you come back to the house and see this beautiful home life that she has with Dina. And then she has a panic attack in the barn, and you realize, oh, she's really not okay. She's not doing well. This game absolutely just shows you how hate can absolutely wreak havoc on a family and an entire community of people.
In the first act, we have all the love story stuff with Ellie and Dina in the way that they just are in love and they're being sweet with each other. And, they're very quickly taken out of that reverie once everything happens with Abby and Joel. And then she's immediately caring for her girlfriend who is deeply grieving. And I think, Dina suspects that she might be pregnant, but I think it's just not the priority to her at that point in time. They're on a mission. And I think that is very much what Ellie and Dina share, which is, they patrol all the time. They're on a mission. They have a job to do. And she's incredibly dedicated and loyal and strong and patient. Then as the story moves on and she realizes that she is pregnant and that she is a liability, it's not her first choice and there's kind of nothing she can do about it. And that's really hard for her to let her go, and especially to basically see Ellie come back in these moments of progressively things just getting darker and darker. And then there's some relief, and they go home and they create a life together. They have a family, and I think they're really happy then. And there's a sneaking suspicion for a long time, I think, that Ellie is not well. And she's watching someone, I think, to some extent, just get sicker. And that's terrifying.
I have to finish it.
You don't owe Tommy anything.
I don't sleep. I don't eat. I'm not like you, Dina.
And I saw that scene as a death almost. And it goes through the bargaining stages of it, but then also just realizing that she has to accept that if this person is going to give in to this, sickness, that there's nothing she can do about that, but that she has to protect herself and protect their child, and also attempting to protect Ellie by setting real boundaries, which is that, if you leave, I won't be here when you get back.
You think this is easy? For you and for him, I deal with it.
I love you.
Prove it.
Stay. I can't.
So what? I'm just supposed to sit here and wait for you? For God knows how long, just thinking you're fucking dead the entire time?
I don't plan on dying.
Yeah, well, neither did Jesse. Or Joel. Hey, stop. Hey, come on. We've got a family. She doesn't get to be more important than that.
And I think, everybody can kind of relate to seeing someone they love change in a way that feels like they're slipping away. But for it to happen with such stakes, for Dina it's a tragic scene, but an important scene. It's the only time, really, that anyone really tries to beg for Ellie's sanity.
I'm not gonna do this again.
That's up to you.
I want to spend the rest of my life talking with you about that porch scene.
Man, when we were shooting that, I want to say that was damn near the only scene we did that day, that I did that day. And it was hefty. And it immediately was, I think we were thinking about that scene more than anything else. And the temptation is to think about the death scene, and that's what's going to eat up most of your bandwidth. And instead it was like, we both wanted the reconciliation to be there. We both needed to forgive ourselves in that moment for, not for past transgressions of the first game, but what we both knew that we had to do. We both had to be in some way complicit in Joel's death. And for me, that was that moment of, if we can get here and if we can have this will sanctify that moment. This will baptize and make holy that moment. Make it worth it.
Hey.
What are you drinking?
Coffee.
Where'd you get that?
Those people that came through last week.
Oh.
A little embarrassed as to what I had to trade to get it, but it's not bad.
I had Seth under control.
Yeah, I know.
And you need to stop harassing Jesse about my patrols.
Okay.
And I think that scene on the porch is all subtext. The beauty of it is the tragedy. The beauty of it is that they came this close to truly being able to forgive, and for Joel to truly ask for forgiveness. And that's as close as they'll ever get. And to me, that becomes that retroactively. Now I understand why. It's not that Joel died and that's what sparked all of this. It's that they never had that closure. It's that they never had that forgiveness, and you'll never have that. And that's what revenge, and someone who is killed out of revenge, that's what it robs you of, is all of the moments that could have been. And I understand all of the choices that Ellie makes. I understand all the choices that Abby makes. I don't agree with them, but I understand them.
Have you buried Joel?
I think I'm reserving that moment for when it's time to do that. And I don't think it would be an injustice to the game and the team, in my experience, if I relegated that and did that before I had experienced the way that it was meant to be experienced. That moment is meant and was carefully curated and crafted over years by hundreds of people, lovingly, painfully, skillfully. And for me to go, yeah, I've already done it. It's like, well, how you buried someone who's not dead yet? So I have been reserving that moment until I play it.
Dina, is she your girlfriend?
No. No, that was just one kiss. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know why she did that.
But you do like her.
So stupid.
I have no idea what that girl's intentions are, but I do know that she would be lucky to have you.
You're such an asshole.
I I'm not trying to.
I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have fucking mattered. But you took that from me.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
Yeah. I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
I'd like that.
Okay. I'll see you around.
Yep.
Next time on the official The Last of Us podcast.
If people don't like Abby, if people don't get Abby, this game fails. It won't work for them.
If it was me, I'd want you to do the surgery.
I don't think you can feel at peace, ever, once you've dealt with that kind of a tragedy.
What happens when you don't put the knife down? It's just this continued escalation toward destruction. And everybody loses, right? And you can't even remember why you did it, but the ego is so driving these characters. The sense of what they're entitled to and how they've been wronged.
They fight and bicker and have judgments of each other, you know, like just all these prejudices from a lifetime of hatred. And then they overcome that and become friends.
Those were your fucking people. You're my people.
The official The Last of Us podcast is produced by PlayStation and Spoke Media, and it's hosted by me, Christian Spicer, and written by Brigham Mosley. Our Sony PlayStation team includes Charlie Yater, Christian Cardona, and Carrie Surtees. Our Naughty Dog team includes Arnie Meyer and Scott Lowe. Our production team is Carson McCain, Kelly Kolf, Trey Jones, Reyes Mendoza, and Alicia Force. This episode was mixed by Evan Arnett, who contributed additional sound design and music. Today's episode included interviews with Neil Druckmann, Hallie Gross, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, and Shannon Woodward. Our executive producers are Aaliyah Tabakolian and Keith Reynolds. Thanks for listening.